Hello, and welcome to our new show starring myself, Hairwick, and CLT. We are here to give you our power rankings of the league, as well as some fun stats that will be provided to you specifically by our friend, CLT. So without further ado, here is Hairwick's Baba Yaga hit list. Alright, CLT, let's start off here by revealing our first team, and that is going to be at the number 18th spot, Freebrax. All right, so my explanation for this, and I should remind you guys all, this is only based on week one. This is not based on anything that would have happened in the week two matchups. All right, so it's only week one. Their series that they played, which was against TK Gamers,
Correct.
was pretty rough, I will say. They lost by one of the worst gold leads I think we've ever seen. It got up to 17K. And I think if you're going to lose by that, that's just one game, mind you. If you're going to lose that hard, it's going to definitely bring you down. Somebody has to be last. So I'm sorry that it is them. But there's always a chance to come up in the power rankings. And we will have to wait and see if they're able to accomplish that next week. But that's kind of my take on why I'm putting them so low on the list. Do you have any
Also,
opinion of that, CLT?
um, yeah. I think just a note into the TTK Gamer series against Freebrax. That Freebrax was missing one of their best players, and has Streets a sub for them. So I don't think it was 100% indicative of their team strength. I just think yeah, when you lose in 25 and 24 minutes by a goal lead of that like significant, yeah, there's only the only direction is up, and I think once their top laner comes back for week two, they'll definitely have a much better showing.
Yeah, and that is something I definitely considered when making the power rankings, but it's just like they did not feel competitive. Again, when you're losing by such a wide margin, and I really consider like, hey, this team is going against some of the returning members of last split that won the split. I still just felt like it was too jarring of a loss, especially when I personally know I hyped them up a little bit coming into the split. So I got to be, fair about the situation. So that's my take on them. But again, like you said, they could definitely improve. I saw some bright spots. I thought Deeg played really well um, in that series in the bot lane. So I don't think it's completely just doom and gloom. But that's where I'm placing you guys for now. All right, you wanna reveal to us who number 17 is? CLT.
Yep.
Ice Wall. So that's my number 17. So Ice Wall series, I think they competed a little better than what Freebrax did. Um, they did lose in still pretty decisive fashion. Um, but when looking at it, I think PB&J did certainly take care of business. Like it didn't feel like they were really in risk of truly losing either game. So again, due to that fact, if the gold lead was more of a wide margin, because like I don't remember the exact number, but I know it wasn't as bad as 17,000. So again, like I'm taking that into consideration here. That's why Ice Wall slightly edges out Freebrax, but I don't look at these two teams and go, oh, you know, Ice Wall is just so much better than the Freebrax. That's not really what the take is here. It's just that I'm basing it off how bad did the team end up losing, and I did also see bright spots for Ice Wall. So again, this team has certainly some opportunities to continue to grow and get better and jump up these power rankings. Um, I'm gonna probably say this a couple times, but I want to make this clear. I'm doing this because you guys asked for it. I'm really not here to hate on no team. I believe every team has an opportunity to win. So like, do not slaughter me because of this. I'm doing this because you guys asked for it. And I'm trying to be as subjective as possible, or objective. I mean, I apologize, objective as possible here, and not make anyone feel bad. It's the first week. It's really hard to rank teams on the first week, but that's kind of my take on Ice Wall there.
Yeah, Ice Wall specifically. the game two, they put up a much better fight, and honestly, I think they had the comp to win that game if it wasn't for the Mundo backdoor. So um, I think it's fair to say, yeah, Ice Wall definitely put up a really solid fight in that game two against PB&J.
All right, TLT. What's our number 16 team on the power rankings? All right, it's going to be Caster Curse. All right, so Caster Curse. Um, when I watched the series, there was certainly some kind of ups and downs. Like things were kind of rocky there, but again, it kind of felt similar to where I was watching them, and they still felt competitive to me. And that's the thing for me. Caster Curse and Icewall compared to Freeback here, it's just they looked like they at least had an opportunity to make something happen, but it just really didn't. Um, and again, you can't win every single time, right? Sometimes it's just not your week. They went against a new team in the league as well, which was a coin flip. Not as familiar with coin flip, but coin flip did play well. They looked good. But yeah, there were some small spots where Kazakers definitely had an opportunity to maybe kind of turn the games, but they just were not able to. I know CLT had a wonderful game on RE in game two, but sometimes things don't go your way, and due to the fact that they did lose again pretty decisively, it was a 2-0. I still don't feel I can put them much higher than this placement. But again, I do think it's pretty close between these three. Like it doesn't feel like either one of these teams are so much better than the other.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. There's not much sample size to go off of. So,
All right, then let's go ahead and move on to number 15. All right, that's going to be T1 Tempest. Now, I will admit I have not got to watch this full series yet. When I decided to rank them like this, uh, I actually personally talked to CLT. Said that they played decently well in the first game, and the second game kind of got off the rails. So basing it around that, I go okay. They're going against a really good team, which is Team Ghost. They've got Geico, extremely good AD carry, if not possibly one of the best AD carries in the league. Could even be number one. That's again up to your opinion, but he's definitely up there. They've got Havoc, who's certainly again top three, top two, top laner in this league. All right, very, very, very phenomenal player. Um, so when I'm looking at that and the fact that they're able to compete against a team like that, even though Ghost did have a sub in the mid lane, I think that is impressive in itself. Now, after they lost game one, it kind of went off the rails, kind of like CLT said. But again, even just one game, when you're a new team in this league and you're going against a what I would consider a powerhouse at the moment, that to me is impressive in itself. So that's why I think they slightly edge out the Caster Curse and the rest of this lower side of the rankings.
yeah, yeah. Mechanically, they looked fairly sound against Team Ghost. But Ghost did a fantastic job of attacking the bot lane in that series. And honestly, like these bottom four could be mixed up in kind of any order, depending how you view the games. But this is week one, so like I said, small sample size.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, who's our number 14th team? Dyslexic Defenders. All right, so this one kind of was hard for me. I was kind of as I got to this middle of the like lower side of the rankings, I started having a hard time. So the reason why I ended up putting them here was because you had both TK Benchers and TK Gamers having returning members from Boomer Squad last split that won. And so when I'm thinking of those two teams, they're automatically going to be up there for me. Again, we'll get there when we get there, but they're going to be a higher team. So I'm looking at the Dyslexic Defenders. I'm looking at how they lost. And I'm looking at the fact that they played against a roster that's pretty stacked. Again, I think it's three returning members on benchers, if I'm not correct, if I'm correct, from that winning roster. So I'm giving them kind of a pass of saying, hey, you did go against certainly a powerhouse here. Um, and they didn't look horrible in the series, but again, they did get 2 0'd. right? They didn't really end up make it fully competitive. It didn't go three, and that's what most of this list towards the bottom is. Teams that were 2-0, not just the fact that they're 0-1 for the split. It's the fact that they just straight up lost the series. So that's why I end up putting I can't speak, guys. Dyslexic defenders at number 14. It's so funny because of their name, and I can't
Yeah,
speak.
that's what I was laughing about. Yeah, no, I think this team definitely has a upside. They showed quite a bit in standing up to TK benchers, but also I know they got a couple of members that role swapped. So I think as the season gets better or gets longer, this team could definitely get much better.
Yeah, and they do have some returning members, so we
Hmm.
uh, we certainly will see what they're capable of. All right, what's our number 13 team? Instinct CK. All right, and again, we're gonna go back to that what I was saying prior to. It was really hard to rank these teams here, in kind of the middle of the pack here. They went against Cal Poly Division Two, so both these teams are new to the league. Um, Cal Poly looks really good, I think, overall in the series, but I do think Instinct, when you look at these rest of these teams, they put on probably what I would consider the best overall performance in two games, even though they lost those two. Um, and got 2-0 swept. Um, they certainly had opportunities to win the series. There were some bright spots on their team, but again, they dropped the whole series, got swept. So I don't feel that I should be putting them much higher than this, and that's kind of again why they fall where they fall at the number 13 spot.
Yeah, and I do apologize for the last series that I mentioned. This was the series that had the Mundo backdoor in game two. So my apologies on that. But yeah, they were uh they were controlling that game two quite easily, and then Cal Poly had an insane backdoor with Mundo. So this could have easily been a three-game series.
Yeah, so it is very close. But yeah, that's where they end up falling at number 13 for the week. Who's going to be number 12? And it is Insane Banana Posse. So Insane Banana Posse, let me tell you, this team, I really like this team. I'm gonna be honest, okay? I do really like this team. They're coming off last split where they just missed playoffs, so I'm thinking to myself like this team should be pretty competitive. And then they're gonna go against the runner-up starting week one, which is Scorch. And I would say, for the most part, they were competitive. I think they did play a pretty good series. I consider the fact that they were going against a team that was in the finals last split, and I think that's why I ended up edging them slightly higher than Instinct CK here. It's just simply because they are a team that competed against the runners-up, did have a decent showing out. They didn't look horrible, um, horrible in the series, but again, can't go too much higher. You get 2-0'd. It's kind of what's going to happen, and starting 0-1. So, but they did look good. I liked what they were doing. They were aggressive. They were trying different things. Their their comps were kind of crazy. The Nautilus mid back to back war initiate. You're my boy. But yeah, it was really fun to see, and they definitely did push Scorch to the limit. I think game one went like 40 something minutes. So,
Yeah,
but
41 minutes.
yeah, and we'll be able to talk more in detail on Midwest Weekly about that series. But yeah, it was definitely intense. So that's why I ended up putting them here at number 12. I think CLT you don't got nothing to say about it, so I'm gonna say let's go
Ah,
ahead and go on to number 11 then.
yep, yep.
All right, Cal Poly Division Two. So we're getting near to the top 10, and I'm gonna say I want you to actually show number 10 for me because I want to talk about both these teams. All right, load the cannons. So here it's a weird situation. Load the Cannons technically did lose their series, and Cal Poly won theirs. But the reason why I have Load the Cannons slightly above Cal Poly is because I think, from what I saw at a Backdoor Bandits, they look like a really, really good team. A team that as you're going to see, are obviously in the top 10, look very strong. So they pushed them to a limit. They went 3 games. Load the Cannons also has returning members like Frozen, who has won the championship here in Midwest. And so because of that, I kind of took that into consideration a little bit. They looked really decent in the series. Like I feel like it could have went either way, um, and they could have been the ones on the winning side of things. So that's why I give them a slight edge over Cal Poly. But I do think, on paper and what I've seen of these two teams, that they are very, very close. So I wouldn't be surprised as the season progresses. They kind of stay next to each other in power rankings, and can certainly flop. Um, Whatever Cal Poly does in week 2 and whatever Load the Cannons does in week 2 can certainly change that very quickly. But yeah, I think Load the Cannons put up such a good fight against a team that looks really really strong, full 3 game series, and we're so close to pulling it off that's why I give them the slight edge over Cal Poly. Even though again, Cal Poly did get the win and starting off 1-0, but they also had a chance of going into the 3 games. So it's a weird situation. It's really weird, and I know that some people might be questioning it, but that's my best explanation of why I did kind of give Load the Cannons the edge here.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for either one swapping them, but I think these two teams are going to be very dangerous on the schedules going forward in their respective groups.
Absolutely. All right, so who's our number 9? Coin flip. Right, so coin flip here. As CLC said, they're a number 1 seed, right? He's spoken about like when people got in the seedings. So the reason why I'm putting him here at 9 and over both of these two teams is because they looked decisive in their wins. Like I talked about the series already when we talked about Caster Curse at 6-16. They looked good. They did exactly what they're supposed to do, and they won pretty cleanly. So that would be my reasoning for putting them here at 9. But I do think, as we're going to continue to go up the list, there are teams as of right now I would consider just stronger than Coin Flip. But hey, guys, prove me wrong. Show me that you're better than the number 9 on the power rankings, and move on up.
Yeah, agreed. I know firsthand that Coin Flip, they definitely when they take a lead, they are very decisive and they know how to just keep pushing it and pushing it. So, really impressive for showing by them.
Yes. All right, now we're getting into the top 8. So we already are over half of the league here. So let's see. What do we got? We got Sad Jellyfish. This is the highest team to start 0-1 I have. And the reason why I'm putting Sad Jellyfish at number 8 is two things. Number one, they are a team for 2 straight splits, not only make the playoffs, but win a championship 2 splits ago, and make it to the semis and only lose to the eventual champion of the league. That is one of the reasons. The second reason is they absolutely did not get stomped in the series. It was a very close 3 game series against Small Brain No Mechanics. So I would feel like I wouldn't even feel right putting them lower than some of these other teams, and it just has a lot to do with the fact that these teams are just unknowns, right? And that's why I'm going to give them an opportunity to show that they deserve to have this spot based on whatever they do perform in week 2. But I do feel they are slightly better than the teams in that kind of middle section of the power rankings here, the Cal Poly, Load Cannons, Coin Flip. So I do think that they belong in this spot.
Yeah, I think anybody who watched the series could tell that both teams were pretty evenly matched. And it could have went different on another day, but also like Sad Jellyfish is as a team has been together for such a long time that um, you just know you're in for a challenge when you're facing them. So
Absolutely. All right. Let's see what number 7 is. Peanut butter jelly. All right. So peanut butter jelly. So um, the way I see it is they just looked good. I mean, that's my biggest thing. They looked good. I think they came out, they performed well, they took care of business, and I think their drafting was pretty good. I like everything that they're doing on an individual basis. Their AD carry looks really clean. The jungler has the right idea where he needs to be. The whole team play. It reminded me of a couple other teams in the league that we've seen for a long time, and where I go, this team kind of feels like they're going to be around for a while just because they play so well, and so that's why I ended up putting them at number 7. It was very close because again, like I still find I would say like between 11 and around 6 is kind of really that true middle section of the league right now. You could it's a really weird spot. And you could kind of interchange some of these teams. Like you could maybe put peanut butter and coin flip and switch them, or Cal Poly can go up a little bit. Like it's very very close, but it just feels like they had probably one of the cleanest series of all the 2-0 sweeps that we saw out of these
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, they came out against Ice Wall and did exactly what they needed to do. They got two really solid W's to start their season off well. And like you said, like this 6 through 10, 6 through like 12 area will end up ironing themselves out once these teams start to play each other. But yeah, when you start off 2-0, you kind of get rewarded that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's check out number 6. Backdoor Bandits. I talked about this team when we were breaking down their matchup here against the Cannons, and I just think Backdoor Bandits looked really good. Like, the mid laner was against a very tough opponent, Marika, and I think for the most part stood their ground against a very good mid laner in this league. Um, as far as jungle goes, again, Frozen is one of the best junglers we've seen for many splits, and I think at times when watching, he was being kind of what's the word? Kind of thrown around a bit, and not in a bad way. Just like this guy was playing really good, doing his job. And I'm sorry if I can't remember names. I will kind of learn them more as I go, but that's why I don't have that here. But yeah, Backdoor Bandits just looked really, really good. Everything they did across the map was great. Great team play, great map movement. Macro was solid. Um, and the only reason I don't have them a little higher and they don't break the top 5 is just because Low the Cannons did have a sub for the series. And I'm not trying to take away the win really. I'm more just trying to say if these teams are at full capacity across the board, what would that truly look like? So that's why I end up putting them just a little lower and why they just barely miss the top 5.
Yeah, I think they look solid against another really solid team in Ludikin, and so they got pushed pretty early in the season, and we'll see if they can take the momentum of this tough series, learn from it, and get better, or if this Group B setting is just really a talented group.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what do we got here at number 5? Good old Scorch. So I want you to do me a thing again. Go ahead and show me number 4, and I'm going to break this down.
Here you go.
All right, that's Small Brain, No Mechanics, and Scorch. So 4 and 5. So the reason why I have Small Brain over Scorch, even though Scorch did get a 2-0 sweep, uh, it's just the simple fact that historically speaking, when these two teams have come face to face, Small Brains has the edge. Now that can certainly change, but as of right now, that's part of that. The other thing, I think, Sad Jellyfish also historically has been good against Scorch too, and Small Brains for that matter. But Small Brains finally got their victory over the powerhouse that is Sad Jellyfish. So that's kind of my reasoning and kind of why I'm breaking it down like this. It's very, very close. The other thing is they were very, very long games by Scorch, right? It was over 40 minutes. They were good victories, and I'm not taking that away. Like, Rusty was unbelievable in those two games, mind you. I just want to point that out. And we're going to break that down in a minute weekly, but he was popping off. I do not think that the margin is huge between these two teams, but I do think there is a small edge right now for Small Brain. But it's small. And if they ever do meet and play again, I would not be shocked if it goes Scorch's way. They aren't going to play this split in the regular season, but look out for playoffs. It's always a fun matchup when these two teams meet. So I am certainly looking forward to that. But that's why I'm giving Small Brains the slight advantage right now. But we will certainly see as the season progresses.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. You have two legacy teams that have done very well in their history in this league, and yeah, it could go either way between these two, but it's still early in the season with Small Brains taking out Sad Jellyfish and Scorch still doing what they do against Insane Banana. So we'll see how the strength of the competition reflects as the season goes on.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's now get into our top three. Reveal number three for me. Ghost. All right, so we talked about them a little bit when we were talking about their series against T1 Tempest. Here's the thing of note for Ghost. They were, again, missing their mid laner, and they played phenomenal. For that reason alone, when their mid laner comes back, I just can't, in good conscience, say that they're not just simply a top three team with how they performed, with how good they have been in the past, with how good I know Havoc and Geico are. When again I've said they are certainly top two, top three, in that realm of in their respective positions. There are going to be question marks for this team. The support and the jungler are unknowns, at least for me. But I also know the mid laner is also very good. And when he comes back in Mage, I would not be shocked if this team goes on a rampage in Group C. So that is why for me they are number three. But there are two teams that I think are just simply better than Ghost right now. One of them is in the same group with Ghost. Why don't you go ahead and just reveal the top two, CLT?
There's number two, and here is number one.
So we have both Tom Kench Gamers and Tom Kench Benchers. Listen, as I've already stated, both of these teams have returning members who won the split in summer. They both look dominant still. They both look good. The only question is, since the team has broken up, since we have seen a split in those members, since there is clearly some problems between that five members, and that is why they split. The only question is, who is better? Unfortunately, we can't find out just yet, truly, but I do think Gamer's performance was slightly better than Bencher's. I think what they were able to do against Freebrax with that 17K, again, 17K in game one and 10K in game two, how dominant that was. Almost nearly 30,000 they won the whole series by. That is why they are edging out Benchers here. But it's just by a little bit still. And I think that if these two teams play tomorrow, it would be one heck of a series. If you played 5 games, it would go the distance. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. And so there are my power rankings. There is my reasoning. If you got a problem with it, I don't know what to tell you because ain't nobody always going to be happy. So you can gladly shit on me in the comments and prove me wrong next week and show me why your team deserves to be higher than what they currently are.
Yeah, I think it's a respectable like list. There's not really many things I would lean one way or the other. It's just week one, and yeah, you have a very small sample size to go off of. But the two TK teams started off strong, and even Ghost as well. All three teams did exactly what they needed to do in their week one series. And TK benchers and gamers, like you said, have returning members of the championship squad, and also the other squad made semifinals as well. So you have 10 players total on both rosters that have made it to semifinals and won finals last split. So it's hard to argue against those two.
Absolutely. With that being said, we have one more segment for you. It shouldn't take us too long here. But I know CLT wants to talk about some things. So I'm going to let CLT have the floor here. And I'm going to let him discuss on his new segment, CLT's Island of Misfits Stats, where he gets to talk some fun for you. Go ahead, CLT. Take us away.
Yeah, so working with Hair and Havoc, also helped out with some of the formatting and appearance. We do have some stats here for week 1. Um, Hairwiz was nice enough to go back and look at some of the sides. It looks like red side has got a slight edge over blue side, 11 wins to 9 out of the 20 games were played. Um, but looking at the champion statistics, surprised the nobody that Mbessa easily the most picked, most banned um, champion. And she only had three wins and 2 losses, but was banned 12 times, which is the most of any champion. Followed by Camille, but 60% win rate still very respectable. Sample size is still a little small here, but all in all, that champion's been present, and I think every single series at one point she was pick or banned
Yeah.
um, for the top lane. And then the jungle, maybe you can comment on this, but Skarner's still like just insane. Has all the tools, has all the tankiness, everything that you want out of a jungler. Um, you think Skarner's just hands down the best jungler overall? Just gives you everything you need.
I do think he's really strong. Certainly still. There are some picks though that I think he will struggle against. One of those being Wukong, and I don't mean to kind of interject on the
No, you're
stance
good.
here, but Wukong's been having a pretty strong showing as well. And I think he's sitting at a 66% win rate, which
Yep.
is pretty high. Actually, the same as Skarner's. So I wouldn't be surprised if people start picking it more into Skarner, because I do think Wukong does what you want. He has the shred and the damage and the ganking power at 6 to keep up with the Skarner.
hmm When kind of going roll by roll here, looking at the mid lane, is it was easily the Aurora show. Um, she has played 3 times, 2 and 1, but then banned the other 7 times here. So Aurora, even after the changes, which some people would argue were net negative, nerfs on her, she still has an insane amount of appearance, and it's hard to like fight against that champion and specifically her ult. So still 60 we'll round up and say 67% win rate, but followed like closely behind her is Hui. Aurora was banned 7 times, and it seems like that left the door for Hui to be open. He's 5-2 on the split with a 71% win rate. So those two definitely dominating like the mid lane presence. Ari is kind of, if you drop down a little bit, in third here. Again, 60% win rate. Picked 2 times, or I'm sorry, picked 3 times, 2 and 1, but banned the other 4 times. So um, Aurora still present in all of these series and all of these matchups, and I know there's a lot of really high quality Aurora players out there that are going to continue to get her banned against them. So um, looking towards the 80 carries a little bit. Caitlyn ended up going 3-1, which I thought was interesting. She didn't have the biggest presence last split, but it seems like teams are definitely wanting to play towards this early game. If they get grubs early, they're using that to take power plates and really like snowball the early game. So she seems to be the top presence when it comes to especially the early game pick. But closely right behind her, you see Ash as well. Again, kind of the same record, 3-1, just not banned as many times. So 75% win rate. So Ash still doing respectable stuff. We even seen a lot of really like Robin Hood style arrows from across the map. I know Harrowitz had one in his series. Mono hit an arrow from across the map to really start a grub fight. Um, so these two 80 carries being fairly long range and fairly Um, in Caitlyn's case, like really heavy in the zone control, but Ash being really well on the kiting. I think we continue to see those two get picked quite a bit. The biggest surprise for me was Sivir. I had not seen Sivir played in quite a while, and here she is getting 6 total games, going 4-2. So I thought that was really interesting overall. So we'll continue to watch that, and I think Sivir might solidify herself as one of the top 80 carries to pick. And then going towards support, where is she at? You got Leona. no shocker to anybody, Leona was a high priority pick last split. I think the difference between the split and last split is Leona actually has a losing win rate. She only has a 42% win rate. Three out of only won 3 out of 7 games that she was in. Um, so that I think's really interesting. You still see teams gravitate towards her and picking her, but she just hasn't had the dominant start to a split that she had last split. I think at one point in time she was like 8-0 to start off the season last split. Like it was insane the teams that were winning on her. The sleeper pick that I'm really intrigued to see if his rate goes up is actually Mundo. Mundo hasn't lost a game yet. He's 4-0, 100% win rate. Um, and it just seems like Mundo's becoming more and more blind pickable as it goes on. I mean, there's probably certain teams that can attack him, but Mundo, once he gets to that like first item or even item and a half, he doesn't need any more resources pushed into him. So, did Hare, didn't you have a Mundo in your series?
I don't remember having one, but I do recall there being a Jungle Mundo in the Scorch series twice. So Rusty picked it.
That Yeah, Rusty ended up pulling out the Jungle Mundo, which I think could almost grow in popularity too. If
Yeah,
Skarner gets banned out, I think Mundo slots right into that position, and even Mundo could run Smite Ghost and just start running down 80 carries here.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I
um,
wanted to bring something up in the 80 carry I found interesting. Was the Kog'Maw? I know Kog'Maw got buffed a while back, and it's been one of the strongest 80 carries in the league. But we haven't seen the Kog'Maw presence at all. It's like I don't know if nobody plays it, or if people just still think it's not very good. But that's something I really was intriguing me. I think where did I see him at? He's only been picked a total of what
twice.
two times. That's it. So and he's sitting at a 50% win rate. So he's only 1-1, so it's nothing crazy or anything. But it just intrigues me that he has not been picked as much.
If I remember correctly, I know Rurika picked Kog'Maw and went AP, but I believe the other time he was picked, he also went AP. I could be mistaken on that. So, um, I'd be curious to see if he's going to be picked more as like the de facto artillery mage mid,
Hmm.
or if he's going to be more of like the scale bot in bot lane. Because I think he provides a lot more tank shredding tools earlier in the game than say something like Jinx.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, that'll be interesting. Um, anything like the only other thing that really like stands out is Jarvan's lost twice here. So I know Jarvan was kind of leaned on a little bit more last split, but we'll try. I'm curious to see if he um stays in the popularity or if with losses people start to drop him a little bit more.
Yeah,
So
definitely interesting to see as well. I agree. But I also think J4 he's a good champion, but I don't think he's a great champion. And his value is based a lot around uh, low mobility in the game. So we'll see if we kind of again, and if Kog'Maw gets picked a lot, I think J4 actually would find a lot of value. So
yeah,
we'll see kind of what happens on that one. But yeah, I agree. There's certainly a lot of interesting things going on in the league. Something I wanted to know, I think it was like um, let me double check this real quick for you guys. But it was something I thought was very interesting. Was there was like I want to say almost 20 25 champions that were picked um, one time and that's it. And so there is still a lot of champions that have been picked multiple times this split, and it's like 25 out of like I don't know I don't know the exact number. I wish I counted for you guys beforehand, but it's like let's call it 25 out of 80 or something, or 25 out of 90. So there's still a decent amount of champions that are just getting like probably it's a pocket pick or something. They're being pulled out, um, and it kind of goes hit or miss. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. There's no definitive on that, but something interesting I thought personally when I saw
yeah. So 29 out of 112. 29 champions were picked once out of the 112 that were picked overall.
or picked or banned, right? Because I don't think all of those are picks. I think some champions just saw bans, if I'm not correct, right?
Uh, correct. So there were 5 champions that got banned but not picked. So that ends up being 24 out of the 112 that were present.
Yeah, so that's pretty insane,
Yeah.
I think. But that just goes to show that we have a very diverse league. Everybody um, is willing to pick their champions. We're
Hmm.
not like I don't know, the LCS or the LCK where you only see, sometimes in one week you see like the same 30 champions, right? We're definitely seeing some diversity, and I do love to see that. Um, but we also seeing what we're prioritizing, and like you mentioned, the Mbessa, the Camille, the Skarner, these things are being prioritized, whether it's a ban or a pick. So it's definitely very very interesting overall what it's shaping out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, this I'm very curious to see these stats going forward and see how they get skewed and see if it's that same play rate of just like 1 or 2 times or if the diversity continues to stay there throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as this stat sheet goes, we will. The reason why I'm not showing it right now is just the simple fact that it's not 100% yet. Once we get it, all the kinks worked out on this, we actually want to make this public to you guys. So we're hoping in the next week or so to have this, and you'll be able to see when it's updated and what's kind of going on. Kind of help you guys, and maybe you're drafting as well. Seeing what's strong. Maybe you're not seeing something, you're seeing something here, and you're like, oh, wait a second, the league is valuing this. So um, we do plan on trying to do that for you guys. But as of right now, it is not public. We do apologize.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I mean, is there any other cool stats you want to throw out there, CLT?
Um, no, no. I honestly thought going into like week 1, Red Side would have a few more wins, but it's actually pretty even, which was the kind of the shocker for me.
Yeah, I
Um,
know we started out with like 6-0 or something like that on blue side, and then I mean, how quickly things have changed to go from that to getting what going 3-11
mhm.
in the last 14 games. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. But that's sometimes how it goes. I know blue side has been mostly favorable um, in the league community overall when it comes to wins. Like usually, I think blue side's almost like 51-49, something like that. It's very close, but it's usually advantage blue side. Whether it's solo queue, pro play, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, this is our own league, so maybe red side is just better for majority of the players. I guess we will find out, but as of right now, it is. So,
Yeah.
but all right, CLT. Anything else before we go?
No, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. So that's gonna be the show tonight. Yeah, 45 minutes, maybe a little longer than we wanted, but it is shorter than Midwest Weekly. So we hope you guys end up finishing and watching the show. Give us some feedback. Let us know what we can improve on. And remember, I don't mind you guys disagreeing with me in the comments, but also be respectful. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad about their team. I'm more just doing this because it was asked and requested of me by the community. So drop your own list if you want in the comments. Let's have fun with it. All right, guys. Everybody, though, have a wonderful night. Thank you, COT, as always. GG.
Pleasure.